Shelton, few people expected a huge season for Florida on the field in 2022. Maybe 6-6 to 8-4 was the range that most people had it targeted. So maybe they were more closely aligned to the basement than the ceiling in regards to the performance on the field. Billy Napier wrapping up a second recruiting cycle. Of course, the first one, he just jumped in right after he got hired. So not really his class to a certain extent, but had to try to maintain that one. Finishes up with a top 10 to 15 class here in the 2023 cycle. And again, there are still some possibilities out there with National Signing Day less than a week away. But when you take the recruiting, put it together with the performance on the field through 13 games, going 6-7, what are your thoughts about Billy Napier's performance thus far?
Yeah, so I mean, most people were pretty frustrated with how it ended. I think I was a little frustrated. I felt like we left a lot on the table. There's a few games that we could have won. The Vandy game was unacceptable, in my opinion. The Kentucky game, we kind of let loose a little bit, but everything else was very close. It was Kentucky's year. They were projected to go 10-2 for a lot of people. Tennessee obviously had its year. I call it lightning in a bottle, in my opinion. Georgia was obviously Georgia. Got the W against Utah. Florida State looking really good, looking even better for next year. So everyone's frustrated with 6-7. That was a hell of a schedule that Florida was put through. And the big conversation was, hey, we got to get Billy's guys in there. Got to get Billy's guys in there, And some people are frustrated, like, well, what's the knock on Mullen's guys? Well, they don't fit the system. They don't fit the culture, etc. And I think it speaks volumes that he didn't have any attrition at the beginning of the season. He was able to come in, transition pretty well. Nobody left right at the beginning. They left after the fact when they realized that this isn't going to work, and that we should expect that. And I think he's done a great job of filling in that void. I think the way he's wrapped up the portal and the recruiting class, if I have to give him a grade, I'm putting him back into the C column. I know a lot of people gave him a D. I'm giving him a C, not even a C minus, a C. I think he's wrapped up and done a good job. But the loss of Andy hurts. Without the loss of Andy, you could probably put him to a C plus, to be honest with you. But that was a tough schedule, and to try to come in and try to figure things out within a year while the rest of the SEC is thriving, it's tough.
So you're considering this to be a bit of a flash in the pan for Tennessee in 2022, if I heard that right.
Yeah, I've been preaching that it's lightning in a bottle. I really think that it is. And that's like, everyone can say because you're biased because you're a Gator fan, but it's one of those situations where I feel like Hendon Hooker comes in, longtime quarterback, does a phenomenal job, and everything's just clicking. Florida had that with Kyle Trask not too long ago, where things kind of just fell at the right helm, right? You've got a longtime quarterback, you got a great tight end with Pitts. Everything just seemed to be in the right motion. And the next year we fall right off because everyone goes to the draft, things go their separate ways. You kind of go back to rebuilding. That's where I feel Tennessee is. Do I think Tennessee is going to go back to being the dismal Tennessee that they are? No, I think Tennessee and Heupel have done a great job, and they're going to do a great job. I just don't think they're going to, build off what they did last year, like some people are projecting.
Well, the correlation I can see is what you touched upon there in regards to, did Tennessee earn their 11-2 record? Of course they did, but did that have the complete look, offense, defense, every unit involved as an 11-2 team, or were the strengths so incredibly strong that they masked a lot of issues, just like that Kyle Trask team with all the weapons that they had, where the passing game just kind of overrode everything else, the defensive deficiencies, the lack of a running game, and they could just throw it so freaking well that they masked a lot of issues. And Tennessee looked similar to that this past season.
Exactly. I mean, that class, that team had Dameon Pierce, who's been balling out in the NFL as well, too. So, yes, that's exactly how I feel that it just – and to be fair, I mean, they kind of rolled through the SEC at a time where Florida's down, right? At the time they played Kentucky, Kentucky was starting to have its downhill fall. And, again, this is not a knock for Tennessee. I think they had a phenomenal season. You show up to South Carolina and get absolutely clapped. I think that loss kind of told me everything that I've been feeling. Losing to Georgia, look, I don't think you should hang your hat on that. Georgia is a well-oiled machine, and I don't see them going anywhere anytime soon. It is going to be interesting to see how they, bounce back. I think Stetson Bennett is a bigger contributor than people realize. But yeah, I think Tennessee capitalized at a time when the SEC was in a weird place, and kudos to them. But I think I really think that next year they're going to have a hard time. I don't see them going undefeated or competing for the SEC East. I think it's going to be Georgia, and then they're going to be close, but it's still going to be Georgia in the East.